Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we sow some Canna lily seeds. So let's go. This is my first year trying to grow Canna lilies from seed. I made a video showing you my process for how I collected the seeds, and I'll put a link to that video down below. I live in New Hampshire. I garden in zone 5B. Canna lilies are not hardy here where I live. So the only way I can save them year to year is by overwintering the rhizomes. It's pretty easy to buy the rhizomes each year or to overwinter them and grow them year to year. And it's actually pretty easy to divide the rhizomes as well. But I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to see if I could get the seeds to germinate, because I heard it can be a little bit of a process. Well, even though there were some steps involved with getting the seeds to germinate, I was successful, and I want to share with you how I was able to do it. One thing to be aware of is when you collect your own Canna lily seeds, the plants that get created from those seeds may not be 100% exact copy of the parent. I'm okay with that since I'm just a home gardener trying to experiment and have fun. Also, if you did see a Canna lily plant and it looked very interesting to you and it was going to seed, I say why not collect the seeds from it and try to grow that plant. Based on my research, if you start your seeds early enough in the season, then the plant should flower for you during that same season. Today is February 23rd. I'm about 12 weeks away from my average last frost date. So I'm trying to give myself plenty of time to grow this plant from seed in hopes of seeing blooms this year. The seeds have a very, very tough, very hard coat to them. And that's what makes it a little bit tricky for getting the seeds to germinate. So I ran a fun experiment just to see what my germination rate would be when it comes to sowing these seeds. On February 14th, I did the following. I took some seeds and I just soaked them. I didn't do any special treatment to them. I just took them and put them in a bowl of warm water. And then I also took some seeds and I scarified or nicked those seeds. And after that, I put those in a bowl of warm water. And then I left those seeds soaking in those bowls of water for about 3 days. I didn't change the water out. I just kept them as is. On February 17th, I then took those seeds out of the water and I planted them very shallow, about 1 inch deep, in sterile potting mix. And then I placed the tray on a seedling heat mat. And that heat mat stays on 24 hours a day, and it stays somewhere near 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The tray was also under my LED grow lights, which stay on for 16 hours. They come on at 5 a.m. and they go off at 9 p.m. Now that it's February 23rd, 6 days have passed since I sowed those seeds, and I wanted to share my results with you. Here is a rose pink colored flower, and I soaked and nicked the seeds. And you can see that it's creating a nice root system for itself. And then there is another seed that was rose pink that hasn't germinated yet. And now we have a red canna. And with those seeds, I also nicked and soaked those. Aren't those so cute? They're really coming along well. In fact, you can see that there was great germination over here. I have a whole bunch of them. So when it comes to taking them out of here, I'm just going to be very careful. I don't want to disturb the roots too much. These seeds are a couple of years old, but that's okay. It's a raspberry colored flower, and these seeds were soaked and nicked. Hello, little baby. It is just waking up. And same with this one. You want to be very careful, though. You don't want to break off this part right here, because if you do that, then the seed is no longer good. All these guys were hidden under the soil, but they're all just waking up. And when it comes to one like this, if you're not sure which way to plant it, you can always keep it in the potting mix the way it was. And as soon as you see the roots forming more, then you'll know which way to plant it the right way. Now I'm going to show you these over here. These seeds here are the same as these seeds here. However, none of these seeds were scarified. They were only soaked. So we'll start with the raspberry, and it was soaked only. And that's what the seeds look like. They're a tiny bit larger, but they definitely don't appear to have any radicle on them yet. Next we have rose pink that were soaked only. Well, this is a great example here. So these seeds were not nicked, and you can see that this one is sprouting, this one is not. This one is quite a bit larger. And then we have the red cannas, and those were soaked only. And none of these are showing any signs of life. They just have the vermiculite that's shining on them, but none of them are sprouting yet. In conclusion, I found that it definitely benefits the Canna lily seeds if you first nick or scarify the seeds and then you put them in a bowl of warm water for at least 1, if not 3 days. Now, some people keep them in a bowl of water even longer. They wait until they see the little radicle, the little white root forming, and then they sow their seeds as they see the radicle forming. I don't bother doing that. I just want to get them all planted after I've soaked them for a few days. I found that keeping them on the seedling heat mat definitely helps with the germination. And in terms of the grow light, you can keep them off until you see the growth appearing, and then at that point you can turn your lights on. But it doesn't hurt to have them on anyway. Some people like to add a small amount of hydrogen peroxide diluted into the water, and they say that that aids in the germination for the seed. I didn't bother doing that, but you can always research that and see if that's something you want to try as well. When it comes to scarifying the seed, there are a lot of different ways you can do it. Some people like to use sandpaper, others like to use a file. You can also use a Dremel. Some other people have suggested a battery-operated pet nail file. So there are a lot of options, and what I suggest is try a bunch of them and see what's the easiest for you. In terms of what's next, I'm going to take the seeds that did not germinate and I'm going to scarify them ever so slightly, and then I'm going to go ahead and plant them back in the potting mix, put them back on the seedling heat mat, and give them more time and see if they germinate. When it comes to the potting mix, I like to make my own potting mix, but you can buy your own as well. Just make sure that it's sterile. You don't want to be using garden soil from outside. And for the seeds that have already germinated, I'm going to very carefully prick them out of the tray, and then I'm going to put them in 2-inch small pots that are already filled with pre-moistened potting mix. And I'll plant them deep enough so that the roots are below soil level and the leaves are above soil level. Those seedlings will no longer go on the seedling heat mat, but they will stay under the grow lights that are on for 16 hours a day. And as those seedlings continue to grow, I'll continue to pot them up. As I get closer to my average last frost date, I'll then begin hardening off the seedlings. I'll be sure to give you updates as I pot up, fertilize, and harden off these seedlings and eventually get them out of my landscape. Let me know in the comments if you've ever grown canna lilies from seed. And if so, did you do something different than I did? What was your method? And any other tips and secrets that you want to share would be appreciated. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.